the Entertaining Speaker Manual. In the year 2060, Ted is speaking after dinner at an annual convention of the AIA, the American Osteopathic Association. He will address the changes that have been seen in the American healthcare system over the past 50 years. This is his final speech for the Entertaining Speakers Manual, and he will complete his ACB at the completion of this speech. Help me welcome Mr. Ted Ogletree.
We've seen a lot of changes in the healthcare system in the last 50 years. When the government took over healthcare in the year 2010, many Americans thought that it was a bad thing. But as it turned out, due to the election of our 48th president, Dr. Andrew Wallach, in 2036, it turned out to be an outstanding thing for America. After the 8 years of President Hillary Clinton, it was discovered that it was the pharmaceutical industries that were behind global warming all along. The planet wasn't doing anything, it was the pharmaceutical companies. And that led the country down a totally different path. And after the great cancer epidemic of 2030, where half the country, as predicted by the medical doctors in the late 1990s, passed away from cancer, and the country became into a rebuilding stage, and the Osteopathic Medical Association was formed under our founder, Dr. Deborah Pavlovich, who happens to be my wife and is our keynote speaker tonight. I'll introduce her in just a minute. But 50 years ago, it was a different America. We were not allowed to say, as naturopathic physicians, that we treated or cured any disease. But President Wallach changed all those things. He put government money, billions of dollars of government money, to duplicating a program that his father started in the 1970s. In the research, it took 10 years to complete, and they reversed over 900 diseases in humans this time instead of animals, putting our country back on the path of health. Dr. Wallach, who will be 120 years old this summer, was the 5th person to have his bust put on Mount Rushmore. And he's a great American. So, my wife and I will be celebrating our 100th birthdays next month. Now, she's 14 hours older than me. And a standing joke between us is I wonder what she did for those 14 hours. Gave her a head start. But she'll be up to speak to you in just a minute. But suffer with an old man as I take you back to when I was first introduced to Atlas Orthogonal Chiropractic, which is now known as Osteopathic Medicine. When I met Dr. Pavlovich, when we were dating, she took me to a few seminars. And she was doing the Atlas adjustment work, and I couldn't wait to get my Atlas adjusted. But when she asked me, was there anything wrong with me, I said, of course there's nothing wrong with me. I saw that I was right. Nothing hurts on me. But I didn't tell her about this old football injury that I had. And Bruce Springsteen, a lot of you guys weren't even born. You don't know who Bruce Springsteen is. One of my favorite singers is the song Glory Days. Let an old man recount his glory days. On the football field, I was on the receiving team. Now, I was supposed to block. I wasn't supposed to run with the ball. Matter of fact, I was on the second line. I'm normally on the front line. And they put me in Pahokee, Florida, the first game of my senior year. And when I got out there and I stood out there, I thought, they could kick the ball to me. And that's all I was thinking is they could kick the ball to me. They could kick the ball to me. And sure enough, the ball started coming. I'm thinking, they're kicking the ball to me. And it was like the ball was in slow motion going end over end. And I'm thinking, the ball's coming right at me. And then I heard the coach going, catch the ball, son. Catch the ball, son. I thought he was talking to me. He wasn't talking to me. He was talking to Ricardo Griffin, who was running up to catch the ball, but it was coming right at me. And if I'd have just stepped aside, went ahead and blocked the guy that was bearing down on me, I'd have been a lot less hurt that night. But I caught the ball, took 3 steps, got clipped in the leg, and from that moment on in 1977, I endured 30 years of pain in this leg from that hit until I had an atlas orthogonal correction. And about 3 or 4 months after that correction, the pain went away. Until that fall, which was was 13 months later, the pain began to return in my leg, and I thought, oh no, what am I going to do? I've been telling all these people that this atlas adjustment had made this old football injury in my leg go away. Is that 8 minutes already, Dave?
Did 8?
8 to 10.
Okay, sorry.
made the pain in my leg come back. But I didn't want to say anything. We were on the way to my folks' house to go down there for Thanksgiving, and Deborah wanted to check me to see if my atlas was holding. I said, we ain't got time for that. Let's just go on and go. And she says, no, well, I'm going to check you since you're in my office. So she checked me. Sure enough, my atlas was out. She said, I need to adjust your atlas. I thought, you know, my leg had been hurting me again. And she adjusted my atlas again, second time, 13 months after the first adjustment. And we were heading to my folks' house for Thanksgiving that year. And as our family tradition, we still, to this day, play football against our family in South Florida. It's the South Georgia Oklachaneys against the Florida Oklachaneys. Well, we're now the North Florida Oklachaneys versus the South Florida Oklachaneys. But we were in Georgia then. And the next day, my tradition was to get up and go to the gym with my brother. And he always tries to hurt me in the gym so that I can't play as well in the afternoon. That's one of his tricks that he does. But whatever he does that day, I have to endure it. And since he works out 5 days a week and I work out about once a quarter, I have to keep up with him. That's just brothers will do that. So I said, what are we going to do today? He said, we're going to do chest and we're going to do legs. I said, okay. So remember, I just got my atlas adjustment the night before, about 9 p.m. This is the next morning at 8 a.m. I'm in the gym and I'm pushing 450 pounds up with my legs as part of our routine, and we run a circle. And then we went and played 2 hours of straight football where I was keeping up with my 17, 18-year-old nephews on the football field. And it was another year after that that my atlas went out again, so it held another year even after that. So that was my introduction to instropathic medicine, formerly known as atlas orthogonal chiropractic. 50 years ago, there wasn't any such thing as the Brzezinski Cancer Treatment Center. There was the Brzezinski Center. And Dr. Brzezinski, though he was curing and treating cancer, could not say it was against the law for him to say that he was curing and treating cancer. But now, thanks to Dr. Wallach and the program that he put his vice president, Dr. Peter Glidden, in charge of, it is now against the law for medical doctors to treat chronic illnesses except for under the supervision of a licensed naturopathic physician. Medical doctors are now only allowed to treat trauma and crisis care. All the hospitals have been converted over to naturopathic hospitals and instropathic institutes. Atlas Wellness Centers started in Lakeland, Florida in 2007, brought to Valdosta, Georgia in 2011, are now in every state of the country. Wherever an instropathic hospital is, you can find an Atlas Wellness Center near that location. So that being said, we've come a long way. When they found out that it is imperative for health that every baby born should have their atlas checked. Before a child goes into school, they need to have their atlas aligned. Before you can even be insured, the insurance companies are having you have your atlas adjusted. There's federal programs in place now that were not in place that give free colloidal minerals to unfortunate families that can't afford them. And now that Dr. Wallach is in charge of the Field Crop and Minerals Administration of the federal government, every American is getting the organic food that they deserve. That is fortified with the 90 essential nutrients in their diet. And since we lost half our population, we were down about 100 million people in 2030. We are now above over 200 million people. Our life expectancy now is 90 years, and we're productive well into our late 80s. It's a vastly different country than it would have been had it not been for President Wallach. And I wouldn't be standing here tonight if it wasn't for my lovely wife, who's our keynote speaker. I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Deborah Pavlovic Oklacheki.
Put another hour on the clock.
Quite a vision, Ted. Very optimistic. I would love to see that in another 50 years. Our next speaker, and the final one for today, is Michael Barr. And Michael Barr is speaking from the Persuasive Speaking Manual. He is on project number 5.